Good day, tributes! Welcome to the EAPP Arena. We are now back again in another exciting learning episode for Quarter 2 in English for academic and professional purposes. I am Mrs. Charsol John H. Casala, Teacher 3 of San Pablo City Science Integrated High School. Know that this learning episode will surely be interactive as you are to be engaged in various digital tasks that will help you attain the lesson's competencies and at the same time enhance your digital literacies as senior high school students. For Quarter 4, Week 3, our lesson and focus is identifying or determining the objectives and structures of various kinds of reports. Here is our most essential learning competency. MELT 3 determines the objectives and structures of various kinds of reports. And for the learning objectives, at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to define what report is and its basic kinds, identify the objectives and structures of various reports such as survey, scientific, and field reports, and analyze the sample reports and determine its content parts. Let us now proceed with the discussion of objectives and structures of the various kinds of reports mentioned earlier. Since our main topic discusses the various kinds of reports, what are the reports that you have already encountered and prepared so far? Can you think of the reports that you have already done in the past subjects? So I think, or I guess, you were able to come up with the different kinds of reports, such as narrative reports, we have book reports, we have scientific reports, and lab reports, since you are studying at Science High School. And there are a lot of reports that you have also encountered, like progress report, attendance report, and other kinds of reports that we'll be discussing today. But the question is, what do we mean by report? Or what is the meaning of report or reports? So to give you a quick background, report is a description of a situation or events and is written for a clear purpose to a specific audience. Specific information and evidence are presented, analyzed, and applied to a particular problem or issue. The information is presented in a clearly structured format, making use of sections and headings so that the information is easy to locate and follow. A report may be a short, sharp, concise document that is written for a specific purpose and audience. It usually sets out and analyzes a scenario or downside, typically creating recommendations for future action. It is a factual paper that should be clear and well structured. To deepen our understanding of the reports, let's give a simplistic definition of it.
Reports. Reports are documents that wish to inform, analyze, or recommend. Reports are usually expressed through verbal or written presentations. They are essential to keep an updated account of an event or a situation or an organization. So reports are conveyed or can be conveyed in these common mediums. It can be expressed in speeches, television, radio, and other printed or published materials. In addition, reports are designed to lead individuals through the data in an organized way, therefore requiring it to have a numbered sections and subsections. So there are times that the students get confused with reports and essays. So however, essays present argument and reasoning, while reports are more on scientific, business-related, and technical. It is also based on facts. So again, a report may be a short, sharp, concise document that is written for a specific purpose and an audience. It usually sets out and analyzes a scenario or downside, typically creating recommendations for future action. It is factual paper that should be clear and well structured. So if you will be tasked to write a particular report, make sure that you are to use formal language and you are to use successions or a specific format or a specific formal process in writing a specific kind of report. So in addition, many scholars have defined reports as an information or an informational work made with an intention to relay or recount certain events in a presentable manner. So these are often conveyed again in writing, speech, television, or film. Moreover, considering report as an administrative necessity, hence, most official form of information or work are completed via report. Note that report is always written in a sequential manner in order of occurrence. So one key feature of report that you should remember is that it is formally structured in sections. Hence, the use of sections make it easy for the reader to jump straight to the information they need. Unlike an essay, which is written in a single narrative style form, or from the start to finish, each section of a report has its own purpose and will need to be written in an appropriate style to suit the purpose of the report. For example, the methods and results sections are mainly descriptive, whereas the discussion section needs to be a little bit analytical. In addition, reports communicate information which has been compiled as a result of research and analysis data and of issues. Please note, however, that reports can cover a wide range of topics, but usually focus on transmitting information with a clear purpose to a specific audience. This means that the kind of report that the purpose of the report that you are trying to do depends upon the kind of report or the type of report that you are tasked to write. So it is in this sense that you can come up with your own definition of the report as a systematic, articulate, and orderly presentation of research work in a written form. So lastly, good reports are documents that are accurate, objective, and complete. So they should be written clearly. They should be presented in a well-written format. It should follow a good structure, and you should express it in a way, or your ideas in a way, that holds the reader's attention and meet their expectations. So remember that you may be required to write several different types of reports, so it would be better for you to understand them well. So here are the most common types of reports that you need to understand. It is well that you get to familiarize with different types of reports so you know exactly the structure, the purpose, and when or how to use them in the near future. For example, if your teacher in college or a college professor would require you to write one, it would be very easy for you to produce a kind of report that is asked from you.
So let's discuss first the difference between formal versus informal reports. Actually, there are so many kinds of reports. I think there are 6 major types, but we are only discussing those which are related with our subject, EAPP. So let's proceed with formal reports. So formal reports are complex accounts that uses formal or structured languages. Whereas for informal reports, it communicates information using free-flowing, casual, and short formats about routines or everyday businesses. In addition, formal reports are more analytical, recommendatory, and in-depth. It is formal, and its formality depends on the nature and scope of the topic. Meanwhile, for informal reports can be used to share information with one person or a group of people, and it is generally brief and direct. That's the main difference between formal and informal reports. So I really opted not to provide samples in my definition of formal and informal reports. What I would love for you to do is to participate in this learning stop number 1. Create a table with 2 columns. The first column would have to be formal and the second column would have to be informal. So please identify the following as to where do these kinds of reports belong to. So let's start with lab reports. Is it formal or informal? Minutes of the meeting, number 2. Number 3, recommendation reports. Number 4, memo or memorandum. Number 5, progress report card. Number 6, sales report. Number 7, field reports. Number 8, survey reports. Number 9, email. And last but not the least, we have narrative reports. Okay, if you are having difficulties in answering this learning stop, please pause the video and try to do this task for at least 1 to 2 minutes. So for the pro tip, the basic qualities of a good report lies on the report's objectivity, accuracy, honesty, and brevity. So when we talk about objectivity, a good report should be objective and not subjective when it comes to identifying its point of view. For accuracy, it should be accurate and not focusing on sloppy presentation of facts, numbers, statistics, and data. For honesty, of course, it has to be honest, not false or incomplete details and results. And for brevity, it should be brief and direct sentences. That is according to Laurel Lucero and Cruz 2016. Now that you have already understood what a report is or what reports are, let us now move on with the types of reports. Today, we are going to discuss the differences or the meanings of survey, lab, and scientific reports. So let's now proceed with the discussion of survey report. So survey report is a form of academic writing that uses research to provide data on a specific topic. So it involves, of course, asking the respondents to answer some questions, whether it be quantitative or qualitative questions, based on your study goals or purpose. Then analyzing the data using appropriate data analysis method. So from the word itself, survey report, you cannot commence on writing or in writing these kinds of reports without completing a particular survey. So just like in the report or the analysis that you are doing in your researches, it can also be part of a specific survey report since most, for example, of your data are taken from the respondents' answers or responses. So let's discuss the parts of a survey report. So obviously, it follows the IBC format or the introduction, body, and conclusion. So always remember that an IBC format of a report is always represented by a burger, where the topmost bun reflects or showcases the introduction. The patty will serve as the body, and the last part of the bun will serve as the conclusion. To elaborate, here are the parts of a survey report. The first one is introduction. So the introduction should explain why the survey was conducted, who was involved in it or the respondents, who conducted it, specifically pointing to the researcher, and when it was conducted, and how it was conducted or the methods. For the body, the survey report's body includes all the data collected during the survey analysis phase. It's actually a sort of the discussion of the results of your survey, which has been tabulated, analyzed, and explained in the survey studies body. Graphs can also be used to visualize statistical data to make it easier to understand. So in the body, you don't provide only the results, you don't only provide the tabulated data and the graphs. You should provide as well a quick or a very concise discussion of the following results. And for the conclusion, in the survey's report's concluding portion, all the collected data is summed up and further examined and discussed. So a suggestion for improving the survey report's value and addressing the implications listed in the report may also be included. So here is the example of a survey report. Obviously, it's a survey report entitled Survey of Internet Use Among Selected Senior High School Students. So in creating this kind of report, though you're abiding through the IBC format, the number of paragraphs depends on how well you have elaborated your survey report and how much you need in order to elaborate the introduction's content, the body, and the conclusion. So definitely, this survey um, is all about the language faculty from Polombok National High School or Polomolok National High School conducted the survey among selected senior high school students during the school year 2020-2021. The survey aims to determine aspects pertaining to learners' internet use. So in this first paragraph, they have already answered the questions who conducted the survey, who were the respondents, when was it conducted, and what is its purpose. So the second paragraph discusses how the questionnaire was used. So it was conducted in two parts. The first part involved questions about the respondents' demographics, including age, gender, academic track, and the second part consisted of questions about the frequency and internet usage, and so on. The third part, or the third most paragraph, is the continuation of the results or the presentation of the results of the survey. And last but not the least, the last paragraph, of course, discusses the conclusion drawn from the data. And these are: the use of internet will continue to be strong, is most probably the conclusion and combination of recommendation as well. Let's now discuss the laboratory or scientific report. These reports are form of academic writing again that explain the findings of a technical or a scientific study. So it's actually representative of the research papers that you are conducting currently in the immersion subject. So it is a specific form of report that follows a scientific method and is distinguished by meticulous attention to detail, emphasis on test methods, objective analysis, recorded testing through reporting, and evidence-based conclusions. So in addition, a scientific report must be able to communicate research findings effectively through clear, accurate, and concise writing. That's why we have collaborated with your immersion teachers, because we are looking for how or on how you're going to communicate the research findings, how are you going to elaborate further on the results, and how are you able to go to present your ideas and results and discussions through clear, accurate, and concise writing. So let us now discuss the specific parts of a lab or scientific report. So remember that the process may vary depending on the kind of format that each of your teacher is requiring you to do. But these are actually the most important ones to be included in a lab or a scientific report. First off is the title page, or the first page that will be read by your readers. So this title page contains, of course, the title, name and details about the author, and the date of submission. The second part is what we call table of contents. So if your scientific report is more than 6 pages, again, if your scientific report is more than 6 pages, or you are required by your teacher to submit a kind of table of contents, you must provide table of contents in your report. So this is the page that contains details about the subjects discussed, as well as the scientific or specific sections that contain the headings. The third part is what we call the abstract. Abstract is defined as a standalone summary. So in reading your abstract, we will be knowledgeable with the entire study that you are conducting. It actually summarizes the research study in great detail. This is where you can quickly explain why you're doing scientific research, the procedure or methods that you used, and of course, the outcomes. That's why sometimes the abstract is done at the end of the conduct of your research. The next part is what we call introduction. Introduction should include the following. It should entail the goal of your study, a summary of the issue, previous studies that were similar to yours, the general design of your process, and your research hypothesis or theory that you will test in relation to your chosen technical or scientific phenomenon. So some of the scientific reports that, for example, is just a simple scientific report is not asking for the next part, which is related literature. But to elaborate further, related literature or relevant literature or review of related literature is a section that incorporates studies that support investigation. This part of your lab report or scientific report almost holds the credible sources that you have incorporated or that you want to incorporate in your research that supports your hypothesis or that supports your entire research conduct. Next up is methods, materials, and participants. This part of the study or this section describes the different ways of collecting data and the strategies to answer the research question. So for example, the techniques of analysis. So also, if applicable, participants should be described in general criteria in their selection and number. So when I say general criteria in their selection, so you have to expound on how were they selected, what criteria were used, and how many participants are involved in your study. The next one is what we call scientific research problems. So scientific research problems is a section in which you explain how you conducted your scientific study. Here, you must use descriptive terminology to describe the methods you use to complete this process. So don't be confused because scientific research problems can also describe the methods that you use in the process, but also can contain the specific questions that you have regarding the research that you are conducting. So commonly, scientific research problems are specific questions that you would love to answer in your conduct of the study, and they are known to become, for example, the statement of the problem or the statement of the problem section. Next is the results and discussions. Of course, we have the results, which are the tabulated data, which are the graphics presented in different infographics or different graphs or charts, plus the discussion purpose. So the discussion provides a concise explanation of what happened as a result of your scientific research. So you may include images, charts, graphs in this section and illustrate each visual aid in a text without repeating the information presented in the visual aids. So my pro tip for the discussion is not only to discuss what is seen in the tables. You must incorporate a deeper understanding or a sentence or two that describes the things that the readers are not aware of about your research. It's actually a supporting detail adding up to the list of data that you are trying to explain or expound. This is a segment in which you will discuss the findings of your scientific study. So the aim of the discussion is to clarify whether your results supported or refuted the hypothesis. Next is the part of the conclusion and recommendation. So for the conclusion and recommendation, this section presents the generalization drawn from the research results and discussions. So usually it discusses your results in relation to your goals, to your statement of the problem, and provide recommendations for future study. So this section should be concise but comprehensive, not exceeding the discussion section in length. And last but not the least, the most important part is the reference or the references. So references is a part that contains details about the sources you used in your science studies formatted according to your teacher's guidelines. So in our case, we follow the APA format unless your teacher, your immersion teacher has instructed otherwise. Selecting the right books for your chosen subject is an essential part of scientific study, and knowing what references to use is really an advantage in the entire write-up that you're going to do for your report. So let's now proceed with the last type of report, which is what we call the field report. Field reports are a form of academic writing, again, that focuses on observation and research writing assignments. So field reports are often stand-specific or strand-specific, with terminology and themes unique to a particular discipline. Regardless of the subject matter or intended academic discipline, the aim of all field reports is to educate readers about the outcome and the effect of an observed individual, location, or an event. So again, the purpose of field report is to identify the outcome and the effect of a particular observed individual, location, or event. So through actual observation, you will be immersed in concepts, thereby allowing you to experience authentic life and career situations. So in a field report, it is a must for a reporter or a reporter like you to bring your pens, to bring your cards, to bring your papers, and maybe a recording material or recording tool to help you out in determining the actual observation that you have in the particular topic. So, field reports enable you to better understand important concepts through examining, evaluating, and reflecting on how they are applied in real world contexts outside of the classroom or workspace. So, collect data more effectively by immersion in real world situations and improve your ability to describe people, places, and events. So one example of a field report is, for example, covering for a sports news, covering for a sports event, covering for a very important or valuable event in the community or in the society, where you try to take pictures of the people, take notes of the important lines, take notes of the important observations through colors, through actions of the people, and writing it in a formal manner. So since it's still a part of academic writing, you need to use formal language in doing a field report. So field reports are also following the IBC format, or the introduction, body, and conclusion. So to elaborate further on field reports, so the introduction explains the rationale or the objectives why the writing project is being carried out. So what's your purpose for doing so? The reader must be informed as to why the occurrence is important. So there are moments where a particular event is not perceived, or the value of a particular event is not perceived clearly by the audience. That's why it's the responsibility of the reporter to expound further, or explain further, or inform the readers further on how important the occurrence is. This segment includes a summary of the program's history or synopsis, so it can also include some historical findings from the reporter or from your research to back up the occurrence that you are going to describe or report. This section contains a brief history or outline of the program. This resembles the introductory section of writing assignments, including the research paper, in which the whys and whats of the research subject are also discussed. As for the body of the field report, it can be found that the highlights of the event are being expounded or being explained, including who were involved, what and why the events happened. Since a field report is about a specific event, it must provide a detailed description of that event. So significant people, comments, or events are often illustrated in the body of a field study. The writer's account must contain dates to back up the ideas. This is done to verify or confirm the accuracy of the event being identified. And last but not the least is the conclusion. The conclusion is required to complete the analysis. So the conclusion usually describes how the incident contributed to the writer's understanding of life-changing lessons. So that's basically the parts of a field report. So here's an example of a field report. So every December, students from Polomolok National High School Special Program in Journalism would team up with their partner schools to implement the peer learning activity. So this is actually a field report for an event or a partnership between the school and the partner schools that this high school has. Okay, the partner school for the school year was the Amguo Elementary School, a pure Bilan community school. It can be reached. Ayan. So, prepared a 3-day seminar workshop that would allow us to review our knowledge in journalism, description on the date, when was it conducted, and how were they able to experience this kind of partnership. The experience are also included in this field report. So to continue, this field report is somewhat written in a not so formal manner, because it's just narrating the events of a particular experience of the writer. So when they arrived in the elementary school, what did they do? It was 10 o'clock, the actual implementation of the service learning task. I had amply prepared for the activity, but I was unsure just who the participants would be. And then as a result, we made some revisions to the activities to make it more appropriate to the learner's level. So we have modified module activities, which included more fun activities and games, more icebreakers and stuff. So although we kept much of what we had previously included in the module, the modified or we modified it a bit so the fourth grader participants would not feel left out. So in this part of the conclusion and the results of the activity, I think a reflection from the field reporter is clearly observed. So let's practice. Let's practice the ideas that you have understood with the kinds of reports that we discussed. All you have to do is write yeah if you believe in this data or in this statement, or nay if you don't. Okay, number 1. In a survey report, a suggestion for improving the report's value and addressing the implications listed in the report may be included. 3 seconds will be given to you. 3, 2, 1, stop right there. Let's proceed with question number 2. The introduction incorporates studies that support the investigation. Is it a yeah or a nay? 3, 2, 1. Let's proceed with question number 3. Or statement number 3. One function of a field report is to read the data, present conclusion, and make recommendations based on your investigation. Is it a yeah or a nay? 3, 2, 1. Let's proceed to statement number 4. The survey report body paragraph includes the data collection summary. Is it a yeah or a nay? Last but not the least, number 5, a report is deemed good if it has qualities of accuracy, honesty, brevity, and objectivity. Is it a yeah or a nay? 3, 2, 1, stop right there. So let's now reveal the answers for the learning stop number 1. So all phrases that are presented in red fonts are considerable or considerably identified as the formal reports. Very good. Formal reports includes lab reports, recommendation reports, field reports, survey reports, and narrative reports. And those highlighted with a very light green color are considered to be the informal reports. Minutes of the meeting, memo, progress report card, sales report, and email. So I hope that you have checked your answers properly and you were able to decipher the correct answers for this learning stop. Let's now reveal the answers for the Let's Practice activity. For yeah, these are statements 1 and 5. And for nay, the answers are nay for statements 2, 3, and 4. So we're now back again in another digital task for the week. So always know that the digital task constitutes the entire task that you are going to do in the EAPP arena. This is only a one task that you have to accomplish within the week. So all you have to do is to pause this video and scan the QR code to access the instructions or important instructions in the digital task. Make sure that you clearly understand the instructions over there. And this digital task, by the way, should be done individually, not in groups. So now that we are through with the discussion, see you in our synchronous time for the EAPP arena. And that ends our lesson for today. Truly, time runs fast when we enjoy learning in the EAPP arena, or for the subject English for academic and professional purposes. I'm sure that you have learned new things, especially on identifying the objectives and structures of various reports. Be reminded of the digitask or the digital task that you have to accomplish in this lesson. Once again, I am Ma'am Cha and see you all tomorrow for another interesting lesson in EAPP. Once again, thank you very much for listening, Tributes. See you again next week on our next video lesson.